In the mid-19th century, bringing a child into the world was a precarious gamble. For many families, the delivery room was a place of deep anxiety, where sudden, life-threatening emergencies were a routine reality. The British medical elite viewed midwifery as a lowly handicraft, a manual labor that stood beneath the intellectual prestige of surgery or internal medicine. Because universities excluded obstetrics from their core medical curricula, a public health crisis emerged. When hemorrhages or obstructed labors occurred, vulnerable women were often left in the hands of untrained, unregulated traditional practitioners. Midwifery remained the Cinderella of medicine, marginalized, ignored, and chronically underfunded as the establishment looked away. The physician who broke this cycle of neglect was William Tyler Smith. He was the son of a provincial baker, arriving in London penniless and without a single influential friend to his name. Unlike the medical elite, Smith's early training in Bristol was grounded in the dissection room. He spent years as a prosector, studying the human musculature and the intricate biological structures that anchor the body. Smith saw labor as a predictable science governed by physiological laws that could be mapped with anatomical precision. Smith's background in the dissection room allowed him to challenge the dogmas of the medical establishment with the authority of a trained anatomist. To elevate his field, Smith applied neurology to reproduction, mapping nerve pathways linking the uterus directly to the spinal cord. He identified a complex reflex arc, theorizing that cervix nerves send signals to the spine, triggering the involuntary motor response of a contraction. This theory solved major medical mysteries. At the time, doctors believed deadly seizures, known as eclampsia, were caused by blood pressing on the brain. Smith showed the seizures were actually triggered by reflex irritation in the spinal cord. This neurological mapping offered a scientific defense for his specialty, shifting the focus from manual dexterity to diagnostic intellect. Smith recognized that scientific theory alone wouldn't save lives. He needed the institutional power to enforce systemic reform across the country. In 1858, he co-founded the Obstetricical Society of London. This created a centralized, rigorous forum where practitioners could share clinical cases and standardize safe medical practices. In 1872, the society introduced its own diploma to certify female midwives. As we see in this hospital ward, the goal was to ensure that practitioners were trained to manage normal labor within a regulated clinical environment. Smith and the society utilized their professional prestige to pull midwives out of the shadows, certifying them as recognized medical practitioners. The ripple effects of this intervention were significant. The society's diploma system laid the direct foundational groundwork for the National Midwives Act of 1902. His relentless lobbying eventually compelled the government to legally require that all doctors in England receive a formal education in midwifery. These institutional victories elevated Smith to the peak of his profession, where he served as a consulting obstetrician to Queen Victoria.